Okay friends, it's time to get started on replacing our coolant reservoir. Take a look, see if you have coolant in there. If there is, you want to make sure that you don't drip this out all over the ground. So we're just going to pay attention to that. Let's go ahead and grab onto this right here. This is just an overflow hose. It just essentially connects onto the cap itself, and we're going to be reusing this. Let's set this aside. Now we're going to make our way over to the radiator. This hose that comes up along the top right here, closest to the radiator cap, is the overflow hose. It should be held onto there by a clamp of some sort or even a wire tie. Go ahead and trim that off of there. All right. Now we're going to follow this down. You might happen to find that it's wire tied along the way. Let's go ahead and make sure that it's free from everything. Make sure you hold onto this. We're going to reuse that as well. Now let's use some hose pliers right here. These are just gently going to squeeze onto that hose and restrict the flow of coolant leading down to the radiator. I'm just going to come right underneath the coolant overflow tank right here. All right, now I can disconnect this from the radiator. Remove this from the radiator. Be careful, there could be coolant in there. Go ahead and drain that out into a collection bucket. Remove your two mounting bolts. One here, one right there. Now, as we lift this coolant reservoir up, you're going to be pulling the hose through this clamp right here. You could, of course, open it up if you wanted to, but the hose will slide out nice and easy. Let's carefully lift this straight up along the firewall. Start drawing that hose out of the clamp there. Now I have fresh coolant inside my original reservoir, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it into this jug and reuse it. We're going to continue on by removing the hose from the bottom of the reservoir. You're going to find a nice clip right here, has some little teeth. Just take a small screwdriver. We're going to carefully get in between this area here, gently pry, and separate the two. We're going to be reusing this. Set that aside. Let's go ahead and give this a little twist. Inspect your hose, make sure it's in good condition. Double check both sides here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get this on the new reservoir. All right, let's go ahead and get our hose on here. You want to make sure it's bottomed out. If your clamp was broken, you can continue with a wire tie. We can use the wire tie because it's not under any pressure. Okay, now we can get the new reservoir into the truck. Something that I want you to pay attention to is this area right along here. That needs to slide into this area on the firewall as we slide this straight down. Now I'm just going to take this overflow hose, I'll put it through the clamp that's down here. There we are. Just draw that right up and in. All right, now I'm going to line up that tab with the area on the firewall where it needs to slide down and in. Okay, all right, now we can start in both of our bolts. Once they're both started, we'll snug them up. Give it a nice wiggle, make sure it's secure. Now let's put this on the cap. All right, now we're going to run that overflow hose. We want to make sure that it runs just along this coolant hose that comes along here and not necessarily up and around all sorts of other things. Let's try to keep it neat and tidy. Put that right on there. Now we can get some clamps. Make sure that's nice and tight. Now it's time to get this piece on there. I've got some wire ties. Now I want to take this and I want to put it so that way there when this rubs up against the body, it's not necessarily going to damage the hose at all. I'll make sure I put this hose along it as well and then wire tie it together. All right. Just going to get this so it's sitting flush. Make sure when you tighten these, you don't over tighten it to the point that it's crimping down this hose. You don't want to restrict any flow coming through this for coolant to make its way to the reservoir from the radiator. Trim off the excess. Now we're going to top off our coolant reservoir. You're going to see two lines. The top line is for our hot level. The lower line is the cold level. Assuming your engine's cold, let's fill it up to this cold level. Now we can go ahead and put the cap on. We're just going to turn it so it's off like this.